Welcome back to Boruto Anime Review, episode 100 and this reviewing the 7th episode of the anime, Blockade, the A on Gate. Yeah, this one mostly put like the opening scene is basically Wasubi playing the card game Card X basically with Inogen, and she beat Inogen in her first try. And then we cut to a scene that is simply put exposition dump. Like, there's a lot of mentionings of previous episodes. A lot of it. Like, in this scene, we have Naruto in his office with Shikamaru, Sai, Tsunade, Kakashi. Well, of course, Konohama and Emojin, they joined too. In the case of Kakashi, it had not been that very long since his last appearance. I think his last appearance prior to this was actually just a few episodes back. Tsunade, her last appearance in the series was way back in the Mitsuki disappearance arc. Yep, that was the last time she showed up in the series. It's great to see her. And I like the fact Naruto brought her in because, well, she and Kakashi are the only previous Hokage still alive. Because the first four are all dead. Yeah, they all died. One of whom was killed by Orochimaru. The fourth one died during the Nine-Tailed Fox attack. The second was killed off during I believe it was the first or second, actually it was the first Great Ninja War. The first one died under mysterious circumstances. Yeah, it's never explained by Kishimoto. Has never explained exactly what the heck happened to the first Hokage. Apparently, he died when he was in his 80s at some point. So basically, it's a debriefing of pretty much a lot of the stuff that's happened in this series. Like, there's a mention in the episode that I liked really much, where it was Sai and Sasuke team up for a mission. Yeah, first time in the franchise these two have ever teamed up before. They've interacted before, but never worked on a mission together that I can think of. When they went to Hidden Rain Village, there's a mention of that. Of course, that mention comes right after Konohama mentions something about an outer, mentioned the car organization, how big it's getting, and in fact it's spread everywhere. They also mentioned the fact about the scientist who appeared just recently. Yeah, somehow he's involved with Kara. Somehow he's considered one of the outers. Somehow it's not really explained. And of course, Naruto sent messages to the 5 Great Nations. The first nation they show was basically the Hidden Stone Village, which is his Karasuchi, and the person the Naruto sent to meet her is Hanabi, his sister-in-law. Not a bad choice. I mean, I'm sure they probably known each other for quite some time. Now, as for the Cloud Village, C, what was basically the messenger he got was Choji. Not a bad idea. Okay. Who did Chotro get? Chotro got Rock Lee. Awesome. The only thing bad is he got no lines in the episode. I'm like, really? You throw in Rock Lee, one of the best characters in the franchise, aside from Naruto, and you give him no lines? Hanabi got lines, but not Rock Lee. I'm sure if when he gets to the dub episode, the guy who dubs Rock Lee, like, really? My character appears this episode and he has no lines? Wow, okay. Now, who went to the Hidden Sand Village? Why, it was Samari. Why not? Because she's a sister of the Kazekage. The older sister of the Kazekage. Yep. I got hit into Naruto. The people who he chose to be the messengers. Excellent choices. In the case of Choji, why he chose him to go to Hidden Cloud Village? Well, his wife's from the village, and the fact that his wife also has been a student of Killer Bee. Yeah, that's actually a bad idea. The other ones, well, Chotro, why he sent Rock Lee to meet with Chotro, they probably know each other since the Fourth Ninja War. That's possible. But it seems quite odd of all people that sent to Hidden Mist Village. Rock Lee seems like the most strangest one. He barely has a connection to the village. Hanabi, I think that sending her was probably a good choice to the Hidden Stone Village. Probably because she and Kasuchi probably are really good friends. They never really mentioned anything about it at all. Of course, there's been about the scientist who was involved with Okanai, Karasuchi's grandfather, what happened during the Mitsuki disappearance arc. That he was involved with this. And Hanabi theorizes, of course, this is a theory basically supported by the Hidden Leaf Village, that he was manipulated by the scientists to do his basically his endeavors. So Okanai basically is not villainized, which that's good on his part. And it was interesting to know they show him, plus the villain that makes his appearance, like the guy who happened to be the clone. Now, the thing about this guy who is apparently Okanai's grandson, I found this character to be quite confusing at first. Even it's been almost 2 years since this. I think it's been almost 2 years since that arc aired. And I'm like, okay, if the guy claims to be Okanai's grandson, does that mean he's Kurasuchi's cousin or little brother? They don't really say it all. Nope, they say nothing about it at all. Yeah, it's like they threw this character in just cause. Yep. Which kind of begs the question, like, what was the previous Razakage up to? I mean, he's only made like one appearance in the entire series. Well, Okanai has made several appearances. Tsunade appeared a couple times in the series. Okay. Mei appeared for like one story arc and appeared like one-off episode. That's pretty much it for her. Of course, Kashi occasionally appears. And of course, they come with the idea possibly blockading the village because of Kara basically having its fingers everywhere. They won't protect the village, fine. And Naruto comes with a suggestion, give me a day to decide it. So, he goes to the main gate, sees the guards, where apparently they got wooden staffs. They mention some stuff that Naruto probably should know. Like, don't mention that, like, okay, fine. And then he goes to the Thunder train station, where he meets up with Kiba. Yep, Kiba. Yeah, Kiba is a police officer currently in this timeline. In this show. Yeah, he's a police officer. I think the last time I can think of he showed up in this series that I could think of was probably during the Steam Ninja Scrolls arc. Choji, I don't think it's been that long since he last appeared. Hanabi, kind of the same thing. Rock Lee, I think it's been a while for him. I'm trying to think, when was the last time Rock Lee showed up in the series? Like, probably that Metal Lee episode. That's what I can think of. The one where he basically trying to go over and there was buying all these medals online. Yeah. But in the case of Tamari, I don't think it's been that long for her. I think it's been even less time for her than a lot of the other people appeared in this episode. In the case of Shikamaru and Sai, they were seen very recently, so there's that. So, after Naruto goes on the village, apparently, Boruto is basically drafted by Dekai to do an experiment. Well, basically, first bring his big bag. Him, Mitsuki, and Sadara. Now, I should point out to all the regular Genin who've been in the series at this point, except for Sasumori, she's basically off of the Ninja Soul stuff. All the current teams. Basically about, I'd say 4 Genin teams, minus 1. Yeah, there's one team on the episode, and it's the team that's actually captained by Sai. Yeah, Sai's team is not in this episode. The last time they appeared was back in the start of this arc. Yeah, the very start of it. Yep. And their experiments basically do something similar to a shortwave radio, basically trying to do from one town to another. Even though they got cell phones in this world. Even though half the time I think the show writers forget the fact these characters got cell phones. Yeah, so Naruto sees this experiment from a distance while talking to Kakashi. Though Kakashi calls him Lord Seventh, which is something he never did in the series prior to this episode. He always referred to Naruto by his name because of how close he is to him. He wouldn't necessarily have to call him Lord Seventh. My guess is the reason why that was written that way, and this is my personal guess, is because, well, the writers probably show how that Naruto's like, oh God, I have Kakashi call him Lord Seventh, even though he never calls him that. So, also, and I thought this was really strange, he does refer to Tsunade as Grandma Tsunade. I'm like, really? You have her in the episode, and you don't have referred to her that? I'm like, he's always referred to as that every time he showed up. And yet, in this episode, she barely has any lines with Naruto. I'm like, really? Okay. Oh, but yeah, and this experiment involves a hot air balloon. Naruto sees it. He doesn't really stop. He just watches it, and he sees that the Genin basically are trying to do a experiment. He probably thinks it's going to fail, but actually it's pretty successful. He's able to the DK is able to contact the kid in their town for about a minute, but at least he proved that it does work. Even though if he had enough fuel, he could be up there longer. Of course, they get back down safely, and then Naruto comes to the decision that no, I'm not going to close the gates of the village, but we should basically keep an eye on our people. We should if we close the thing, it would make basically stuff a lot, let's just say, a lot more comfortable. I don't know if this episode was a play on stuff basically happening in real life with the whole isolation stuff, closing stuff like that. I don't know if it's basically insulting that, because even Naruto probably agrees that whole isolation thing, closing stuff, basically is complete utter nonsense. That's probably, and this is my opinion, I think this is the rarest show basically poking fun at other countries with their isolation stuff. With the whole thing of putting stuff on lockdown, that even Naruto agrees it's completely unnecessary. Well, though in the case of this show, there's no virus around the whole world in the world of Naruto. It's just basically Kara. Though we had this really cool scene toward the end of the episode where the leader, one of the leaders of Kara, is talking to Victor. I'm like, wait, weren't you eaten by the fruit last episode? Apparently he survived. Also, Dappa is definitely dead. Yes, and apparently he's trying to recover, and also apparently he seems standing with a cane. And it turns out this was a hologram. Yep, a freaking hologram. Basically, Victor lied. He's actually on an IV, and he's in a wheelchair. How the heck did he survive? I have no idea. I do have a theory of why they had the writers had him survive. Because I think Oda for. Kishimoto must have saw last week's episode. We're like, hey, this character's still alive in the manga. Why'd you kill him off for? He's still alive. He's not supposed to die yet. And the writer's like, oh crap, we got rid of a scene in here having him apparently survive, but being in a wheelchair. But don't worry, he's gonna die in the arc that's gonna come out next. I think he dies in the vessel arc. Of course, they mentioned the whole thing about a vessel in this episode. That's potentially setting up the arc that's gonna come later. But next week's episode looks like it's focused on Inogen. And all about transmissions. So basically, this episode you can kind of say, even though it wraps up the car excavation arc, it seems like, well, they're going to set up some transmission up for next week, and they're also setting up the potential vessel arc of the series. Yep, that's what it seems like to me. But it's a good episode, definitely, and I like the fact you have an episode focused on Naruto for a change. Yeah, he's the main character for the franchise. Yeah, he may not be the main character of this series, but he is the main character of the franchise, and it's nice to have an episode where he gets a lot of screen time. Because, with the exception of the tuning exams, a lot of the time is usually limited to about 1 or 2 scenes per episode. Usually his screen time is limited to about 5 minutes. That's the way it's been almost the entire series, with the exception of the tuning exam. This is by far the first time since the tuning exam arc that Naruto has got a lot of screen time. And I do mean a lot of screen time. He takes up a lot of this episode, which is quite unusual for him. Everybody else, they look at Boruto, the main character of the episode. He only appears in 3 scenes. It's almost like you almost think of it as a Boruto light episode, because how barely he appears in his own episode. Well, basically of his own series. It's nice that they did that. I'm sure Naruto's voice actor, Millie, she'd be very happy to see this, because, a whole episode where my character gets a lot of screen time in this series. Cool. It's probably not going to happen for quite a while, actually. Yeah, as far as I can tell when they released for dub-wise on DVD, they actually just finished the Mitsuki's parents arc. Yeah. And I think they just also dubbed the parent-child arc too. I believe so. But as for the arcs that come after, I don't know if they dubbed those yet. It just depends when they do that. Mm-hmm. I haven't got the most recent one. I have the second most recent one they released dubbed for Boruto. I don't own the most recent one yet. I'll probably get something in the future. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's it for single view. My next view is coming in our Comic Corner. Yes, I will get to Aztec War. I'm hoping to get to it today. I'm really hoping to do it, okay? See you next video. Bye.